Hi, this is Naroki5. I am going to be doing this until I die or I find something better to do. So please help me achieve this personal and, I think, noble objective by contributing to my Patreon or Subscribe Star. Link is down below. Every little bit helps. Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Red Pill Nation number 400. Yeah, folks, another milestone crossed. Episode number 400. I was doing just a little bit of research on the number 400 before the show started. And from a cultural and psychological aspect, 400 is a indicator of perseverance and endurance and an willingness to keep going no matter what, and to dedicate yourself to something no matter what, and to just continue to do it regardless of whatever the opening circumstances of a particular something happens to be. Now, it doesn't really, can't believe it was like 2017 when we did this. Yeah, by the way, we're hitting our 7th anniversary here, end of November. The Where will we be at 500? I am going to guess, based upon the number of episodes that we end up doing each year, that I'm guessing we'll probably hit episode 500 somewhere in the middle of 2026. But that's just a speculative guess. A lot can happen between then and now. 400 is to do something 400 times, to get through and to continuously dedicate yourself to do it, to get to the number 400 is no small feat. I mean, I was just thinking about some of the names that occurred, that were around this particular time. Sunrise Hoodie isn't with us anymore. Barbarossa is no longer making content. The Gents, Turd Flinging Monkey. I mean, he does do stuff, but he doesn't do stuff on YouTube. There's a large number of MGTOW there's a couple of them that died. Spetsnaz in particular comes to mind when you're talking about MGTOW. Yes, when you've been around for this long, you get to see the bodies hit the floor. You get to see people just drop out for whatever reason and not come back. Marcus MGTOW has sort of drifted back over the years, but yeah, 400 is emblematic of endurance, stick-to-itiveness, and dedication to something. Doesn't in my particular case, this particular podcast. And with that, though, I'm going to say I am your host, Naroki5, and it's going to be a very light show tonight. It's just me and Rearson. So Rearson, introduce yourself.
Ladies and gents, or whatever you want to, however you want to address yourself. Fucking modern age idiocy, but whatever. Yeah, I'm Rearson, Roki's cohort for tonight. I'll be going back onto my hiatus. I've got academic upgrade, and that is much more of a priority for me at this point, rather than this show, as much as I have enjoyed it in the past, and it has been fun. I just don't have the mindset of being a YouTube content creator or vlogger or whatever. And what I've heard is that it's typically, well, for the bigger names anyway, it's typically 5 or 6 hours worth of work for 1 hour of podcast, 1 hour of for 1 hour of doing the video. I just don't have the drive to do it. I don't have the focus. Again, as it's been established a long time ago, I'm not the media guy. I'm more the political guy, the rabbit hole guy. And that's fine. But no, Naroki made sure that I was free for tonight, which I made myself committed for. And yeah, here I am. So let's have some fun tearing at much needed assholes where they need to be torn into.
Oh, and there will be a few assholes being torn into tonight. For those of you who don't know, I am at, in order of number of subs, BitChute, MGTOW TV, Odyssey, Rumble, Brighteon, and last is YouTube. I am also at Facebook, Minds, Gap, MeWe, Getter, TLB Talk, and that is pretty much, that is pretty much it for now. Much like how Rearson is not necessarily into doing the show, for some strange reason, I have never quite gotten around to loading my stuff up at Spotify or iTunes or anything else like that. I keep talking about it, but I haven't gotten around to actually doing it yet. But let's just get into the episode. We might actually be on this for a... we might actually be on this one for... we're probably going to go over 2 hours. I can definitely say that. But the topics for tonight, and of course, RPN Anniversary, topic number 1, RPN Anniversary, 400 episodes later. Topic number 2, another failed Trump assassinations, more questions, different responses this time. Topic number 3, another woke show by Disney. Agatha All Along is like the wokest show yet, as if they couldn't get any worse than what they've already gotten.
It's the wokest one ever. Anyway, sorry.
Oh my! Don't even. I'm gonna try not to
Just don't go there, girlfriend.
Just don't go there, girlfriend. No.
Yeah.
Okay. Topic number 4: U.S. move fighting forces into Middle East? Question mark in parentheses. October surprise. Topic number 5. Now this one is getting bigger and bigger. We might actually end up doing more than one episode on this one. P. Diddy arrested and charged with multiple counts, including trafficking. That statement.
There's a lot to unpack with that one specifically, and I can actually see it indirectly with number 6, which is, but when we get to that one, sorry.
Oh, topic number 6, and this one is the Canada content, because we have to make sure that we have Canada content. Otherwise, Justin Trudeau will. Well, actually, that's not law yet, but I can see him. I can actually see him trying to pull this off. Non-confidence vote called by Conservative Party Canada, but other parties still support Trudeau in the House of Commons. Yes, that includes that two-faced motherfucker, Jagmeet Singh.
There's a lot to go with that as well, if you're not aware of it. But I'll find out if. Oh, well, you'll shoot your shot, and then it'll come to me, and that's fine.
Okay. The truth about Dr. Disrespect revealed. It was a fake. It was a smear job. It was everything but what a lot of people said it was. And if I was Dr. Disrespect, I would be seriously hooking up with people in the manosphere after what fucking happened to him.
Oh, okay. That one's going to be all yours. I'm going to really have nothing to say about it until you tell me. You're definitely going first on that one. So.
Oh, I will definitely go first on that one.
All right.
So, without any further ado, yeah, it is just a nice, quiet show tonight, and I'm actually kind of in favor of this, or maybe hoping that some other people were going to show up tonight, but no, I'm actually perfectly fine just having me and Rearson. I will specifically say one thing about between 400 and 500. I had 2 episodes, 314 and I believe 398. I think where I did them by myself. You are probably going to see me doing more shows between 400 and 500 by myself. I'm getting a little bit more confident in doing that. I'm more comfortable in doing that. The format, it takes a little bit longer to edit because I get to put footage in and comments and so forth between each episode to display what I'm talking about before I get into it. So it will be a different style, but yeah, you are going to see more of that as I go along. I am also going to start posting up a lot of my own content again. Gonna be making not necessarily a hard returns to mine, because between mine, Gab, and MeWe, it took me a solid 8 hours each week to just post up my RPN episode, much less anything else. So it was like, although it was rewarding and the channel grew, the new formula actually works out a little bit better, and it gives me a little bit more flexibility. And also because people are so, and yes, you will see that specifically on all of my alt channels, except of course for YouTube. If I see something that I find is interesting and it is not up at the alt channels, I will post it up at the alt channels, because A, I don't want to give YouTube any more credit than it already has, and B, if people are going to be so myopic that they're only going to post stuff up at YouTube and not post it anywhere else, then it's their loss if they choose to not post it up at, say, at Odyssey or BitChute or Rumble or Brighteon. You want to accuse me of stealing content? I really don't care, right? As far as I'm concerned, if it was possible for me to completely break off of YouTube, I would do so in a cold second. That's all I got to say about that. But let's get into the first thing here. And this first one is actually, you heard me talk about this right at the very start of the show, but I'll get into it again here. Now, 400 episodes. As you heard before, Rearson took a break. 400 episodes is culturally significant, and I looked it up. There is the thing that comes up the most frequently is just perseverance and dedication and strength, and a willingness to keep going, no matter, be it in a relationship, a job, this podcast, what have you. A willingness to continue to keep going, no matter what gets thrown at you. And in that particular vein, getting to 400 episodes is not an easy task. We are currently in our 7th year. Or the Red Pill Nation is currently in its 7th year of existence. I don't foresee myself stopping or quitting or dropping out. I do when I'm working, like I was working today, I do a 12-hour shift, and then sometimes I'm lucky and I have a job where I'm able to maybe do some downloading or uploading while I'm at work. But I usually come straight back to my room and I work on content. I post up content. I do the little things every single day to make this channel grow and to grow an audience. I remember when we hit the 5th anniversary, I remember I made a dedication when I started doing this. And it involved a woman that had decided that she'd rather fuck a tatted up dude bro than be with me. Now, I can already hear a couple of people out there screaming out incel. Yeah, go fuck yourselves if that's your position.
I can also hear, oh, who hurt you? But you already kind of took that you stole the thunder on that one.
Well, who hurt you is an emotional argument designed to steer away from the actual facts of what took place. Now, there was a particular event that when I saw this woman with, and I saw her with the tatted up dude bro, and they were practically, if it was humanly possible for them to start screwing each other in the middle of this parking lot, they would have, but they couldn't. And as any guy knows out there, you just get that like stabbing feeling. Now, what happened on this particular day was really strange. I got that feeling for about 30 seconds. And then I got strangely calm. And I won't say that I was talking to myself, but an internal dialogue broke out. And that internal dialogue consisted of the following. And it was, you know what? I'm not spending the whole summer crying over this woman. After what? Look at what she did to you. You got to spend the whole, because if you're going to spend the whole summer crying about this, you should just end it. Because I'm not doing that. Like, I ain't fucking doing that. And my response is, yeah, you're right. And then the next part of me said, well, what are you going to do about it? And my response was, I don't know, but I will figure it out. A block and a half later, as I got to Gateway Boulevard and 82nd Avenue, I did figure it out. And I was so excited about this new possibility that I actually had trouble getting to sleep that night. Woke up in the morning, and I ran into a friend of mine who we actually had on the show at one point, and I told him how excited I was, and we did a couple of but less than a week later, how to move 10 things to move the men's movement forward. I had already done that video, and I did a couple more, and then life happened. When life happened, I realized that, one of the things that I had an issue with in doing this show, in doing this particular podcast, was the fact that I didn't feel comfortable doing it by myself. I do now. Back then, I didn't. So I met up with Rusin. We went over to Eau Claire, which, by the way, if I am down for the 7th anniversary, we are going to go to Eau Claire and eat in one of the restaurants as a celebration.
Eau Claire Market's closed now. That was supposed to be torn down for the Green Line expansion of the C train, and that's been put on hold indefinitely. But we can go somewhere in the area. That's not a problem. But Eau Claire itself, it's off limits. Just saying.
So, just like my film group, which birthed itself at a bookstore that no longer exists, RPN birthed itself in a mall that no longer exists.
Mm-hmm. I'll take a look and see what's going on with Eau Claire specifically. I'll get back to that.
Well, it's just an indication that life happened. And I remember talking to him, and I suggested this, and we did episode 0, which you can actually find on MGTOW TV and Odyssey and BitChute. And I think you can, it's on Brighteon, but yeah, those first episodes were a little bit, we were new. That would probably be the best way to describe them. Now, along the way, we have definitely had some I mean, I've had 3 Twitter channels taken down. I have had 2 YouTube channels taken down. I have had I've had 7 Facebook channels, sites taken down. I have lost 4 Reddit accounts. I basically, I've got the pedigree of an individual who is a deplorable and has the cancellations to prove it. If you're a hater and you somehow ever get to episode number 400, like even if it's 20 years later and I'm no longer around or whatever, my current mood as of right now, today, is that you are dealing with an individual who does a 12-hour workday and still puts in a couple of hours each night when he gets to his room to make this channel grow. Okay, I have the dedication, the perseverance, and the will to keep going, which is what number 400 is all about. I will do this until I die or find something better to do. And right now, that something better to do ain't nowhere to be found. So, the Red Pill Nation, 400 episodes later, hooray, here's to another 400 more, because I still plan on being around. If life and fate and the universe permit me to. And I'm going to turn it over to Rierson.
I will say that in a way, I'm surprised that it's taken that we're still doing this. Although, as stated already, I'm in a part-time capacity, and the door's always open whenever I want to jump in, and which is perfect, and that's what I would expect. It was somewhere in the 300s, I believe, when V had actually called out your integrity. Not to call it into question, but your style and whatnot, it has not changed. That, to my recollection, we evolved from the first 10 episodes and got to the form that we're in, which I'm quite happy with. And sadly, it's kind of the problem that I have when I went on the Jaffe show, because he's just so random. Nothing personal, Jaffe, but there's very limited structure, and my mind goes off on tangents, but I let it do its thing. But I'm usually pretty good to go back or circle back and focus to the topic. The totally different style with him and other people that we also have on. I'm happy with the structure of the format of this show. And to be quite honest with you, I wouldn't change it for the world. If it does change, it would be no different than if I was to be in a social setting and someone's always going to be talking, and then I'll just be the person just kind of standing off in the back, just kind of going, "Yep, you just keep flapping your gums." I'm quite happy to not say anything because you seem to have the need to be the center of attention. So, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. Overall, you can do what you want to do. So, I have to say that this also has been a journey for me to go through my own MGTOW red pill muted rage, I guess is the best way to say it. That female that I was fixated on for so long. And I just thought about this today, actually. It's like, she's still in my head rent free, but much like 2016 for Naroki, it's one of those cases of, yeah, fine, bitch, you're there. What you gonna do? And reflecting on everything that's happened in that regard for me, and I'll try to get back to the topic at hand here, but I've purged that bitch out of my life as much as possible. And I found her in my Skype contact list, and I deleted that as soon as I saw it. I made the effort to communicate with her on Facebook for one instance to basically say, hey, if you see me, it's because I happen to be in the area, not because I'm looking for you. And she was like, well, what does that mean? I was like, oh, fuck, never mind. I replied back, I'm potentially going to be in this area during this time, from this time to this time, camping with a friend. So don't worry. I'm not looking for you. Don't watch you. And that's basically been it. And in that regard, with all of this, if there's one thing I'm going to walk away from with all of this is being red pilled by Naroki. I'm not black pilled, and if I have my way, I'm going to try to be a monk with some needs from time to time. But apparently, there's a woman in my life once I finally get out of the situation I'm in right now. But that's a whole different story, and we won't go there. So that's about all I'm going to say at this point. I will be dropping in from time to time. Probably, I think we can do this for me to jump in like once every 5 or 10 episodes, just to keep it going. Or yeah, once every 5 to 10, if there's not more than 1 or 2 other guests. So I've got to get caught up in my studies. I'm behind on my first module, and I need to get going with my second module. And the second one is math based, so it won't take too much for me to get all caught up. So I had an energy drink earlier today at about 4 o'clock, so I'm not going to be sleeping tonight at all. So I'll have plenty of time to get caught up. So anyway, my apologies for rambling on here. But yeah, 400 episodes. Fuck me. 7 years, like you said, man. That's a long fucking time. Good God. But I can say that it's been interesting for the episodes that I memory hole, positively memory hole, put into the nothing box, to see all of the shit that's been going on. And by doing this the way that we have, it feels like, that's what I'm looking for here. It feels like I've been able to pay attention more to topics overall, or the direction of society, and where things have been and to where they are now, and in all likelihood of what the most likely outcome is going to be. So again, with that former mutual friend of ours, that he can't see or doesn't seem to lay the groundwork as to where Canada is going if things don't change. And his atypical response has been, well, it's going to take a lot for that to go there. And I don't even think that he doesn't seem to see how bad things were, like with the trucker convoy, the closing of accounts and bank accounts of Canadians that supported them, and shit along those lines. So I was told by a couple of very intuitively or psychically inclined people I trust, just leave him alone, walk away, because and unfortunately it's the case, he's not of any use to where I need to go in my life. So good man all in all, but happily, blissfully ignorant, I guess, would probably be the best way to sum it up. Being as much of an atypical Canadian view of an American, he's quite ignorant, and he's a pig in shit. So anyway, I'll leave it at that, my friend, and shall we move on to number 2, unless you want to add to that?
Mineral melt in your mouth, gums and teeth, and never.
I'm just trying to check out 100 episodes ago. Just hold on.
Okay. Once you get back, I'm gonna have to go deal with my
To know about this.
Okay, hold on a second. I'm back.
I'm gonna go deal with that.
Okay, so 100 episodes ago, we did the walk down, but it was the 10th anniversary of Donglegate. San Francisco was talking about reparations. So Silicon Valley Bank had just gone bankrupt, and its bankruptcy had spread to other banks. There were multiple instances of.
Hi, this is Naroki 5.
There were multiple instances of tech world laying people off, and the city of Calgary was attempting to put restrictions on grooming events. Now, the general mood of this show so it when you look at when you look at the events, it was very clear that things were already 100 episodes ago we're already starting to go bad for the wokesters. In the last 100 episodes that we have done on this, it has gotten from bad to worse. Trump is still in the news.
This is Naroki 5.
100 years later.
Going to be.
He looks like he will probably end up being president again, although I'm not going to be so brave as to say he'll actually win this time, although it's certainly looking like he will. It's been an interesting run. I am going to go out on the record though before we move on to the next topic, because the next topic is also going to be fairly heavy. At the start of this, and this is what I said when I did episode 0 of the Red Pill Nation Hangout, I told myself that in 5 years' time that I will not be fretting about Miss 2016 anymore. When I talk about 2016, I will be talking about this. And lo and behold, because I made that vow to myself and I made a determination to make it happen, that is exactly what happened. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that 4 to 5 years from now, I will be making a living exclusively doing live streams and video content. I will no longer be working a day job. I will no longer be at the whim and mercy of an employer. This will be my job. That is what I am rededicating myself to in 5 years' time. That's where I will be. How long will it take for me to get there? I don't know. But, I made the dedication at episode 0 that I was not going to let Miss 2016 be the determining factor of what came out of 2016, and she wasn't. So I think I can follow through with it again, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I would say wish me luck, but you know what? I know about the power of manifestation. I know about the power of self-belief, and I know about the power of dedication, and episode 400 is all about strength and perseverance. And with that, we are going to... Rusin, are you back yet? No, he's not back yet. So we will move on to topic number 2. Okay, topic number 2. Now, this one happened almost 2 weeks ago, and it is the second failed assassination attempt of Donald Trump in less than 3 months. Now, I can't remember the guy's name doing this, but I will quickly look it up. Donald Trump golf course assassin. Yeah, the guy's name was Ryan Wesley Ruth. Now, there were some other questions. Again, right, if you looked at the mainstream media and you looked at what happened with both of these people. Now, the first guy, and this is something that the mainstream media ran with, oh, well, he was a registered Republican. And of course, that fell apart in the face of all of the social media and everything he was posting up. Now, there was a very curious little incident that didn't really hold a whole lot of significance at the time, but it is much more significant now with Ryan Wesley Ruth also having done this, is that both of these attempted assassins both did commercials or publicity videos sponsored by companies that were owned by BlackRock.
One of the trifecta. My God, imagine that.
Yeah, you never would have seen that coming. Yeah.
Oh no.
The other thing that comes up about this is that any illusion that Trump is perhaps controlled opposition, I think you could pretty much throw that out the window now. I mean, he is a businessman, and yeah, you don't get to be as wealthy as a guy like Donald Trump by necessarily being a nice guy. So he does have a ruthless streak, and he has to have a ruthless streak in order to be someone like president, because you do have to, as president, order the deaths and assassinations of people all over the world, and he probably has had to do so. The issue here is the fact that, once again, Secret Service was not as I shot, and Rierson saw that video, Secret Service was not entirely up to the task. They didn't sweep this golf course ahead of his arrival. Yes, they did catch this guy, but it was almost too late. You know, had he got undetected for another 15, 20 minutes, he would have had an open shot at Donald Trump. And Mr. Ruth is an individual who probably makes about the same amount of money that I do, yet somehow he was able to travel all over the world on that kind of money. From Hawaii, he wasn't even on the mainland. And that set off a whole bunch of red flags. His curious involvement with the Azov Battalion. And if you don't know who the Azov Battalion is, they are a bunch of Ukrainian neo-Nazi anti-Semitic bigots who probably played a factor in how Coach Red Pill died. Again, I can't remember the name of Coach Red Pill. He was a Chilean YouTube commentator. I kind of sort of agreed with him, and I kind of sort of didn't. He was a hypocrite, and he obviously wasn't nearly as smart as he thought he was, because if he'd had any brains, he would have left. Courageous. Yeah.
Gonzalo Lira.
Yeah. he was not as, I mean, yeah, I commend his courage, but again, right, it's like when it's time to leave, it's time to leave. The whole thing just, and also the fact that this was not announced ahead of time. And as the video I sent Mearson shows, the fact that it got leaked the way it got leaked is a clear indication that there is at least one, maybe two plants inside the Trump campaign that are leaking information out to give these assassins a chance. The fact that they are so desperate that they would try to assassinate him twice in less than 3 months, twice in 2 months. Yeah, I think we can write him off. I think we probably can definitely write off the red herring, deep attempt to distract us from the reality by bringing Trump forward as a puppet, because I really don't think someone with Trump's ego would voluntarily step into the line of fire the way he had. So, yeah, is Trump one of them? Probably not. Not after what happened. The whole, also, this particular time, they chose to do this in Florida. And since it was the state police that actually captured Mr. Ruth, it is the state police that are currently holding Mr. Ruth, and they are not turning him over to the FBI. Ron DeSantis has made it quite clear that they are not going to turn Mr. Ruth over to the FBI, given that the FBI is actively trying to prosecute him. And not to mention the fact that there has been a lot of suspicious activity around the first assassination, including the fact that the first person mentioned as a potential killer might not have actually been the guy. And that the other individual who was involved, that the finger got pointed to, and whose name I can't currently remember, but it is on that particular video, knew Mr. Ruth and served with him in the same battalion in the Ukraine. So, yeah, if you're starting to go, you are perfectly legitimate in starting to think, because it's like, I mean, again, right? Another assassination attempt. If it's done in a blue state, maybe they'll let the FBI do it, but it's like they're going to have to be. It's very clear that even the conservatives that are around Trump are like going, no, we're not going to trust the FBI. We're not going to trust them to do their investigation. Look what they did with the first guy. They cremated his body before they had the chance, and I couldn't figure out why until this other individual was named. And his name was connected to the recent attempt done in Florida. More questions, different responses. I have a feeling that even if Trump wins, they're not going to stop doing this. The other thing that I have also seen on this is that there's actually people out there that are stupid enough to double down and say that Trump faked both of these events. And as our mutual friend, let me just see if I can't find his name here, Roger Hansen has pointed out, I cannot think of a single person alive that would voluntarily stand there and allow a bullet to be fired at him and move his head at just the right angle so that the shot misses him with precise timing. That is almost impossible to pull off. That is almost impossible to fake. And with that, I'm going to move it over to Rusin, who I think probably has more than a few things to say himself. Rusin? Rusin?
Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, my apologies, man. Just mini me's being a major pain in my ass and slow as all fucking hell. But anyway, one thing I am going to say that it's been brought up is that it seems to be that when there is a would-be assassin, John Wilkie's Booth, Oswald, can't remember what his first and middle name were, and this guy, although I think Hinckley was maybe an exception to the rule with Reagan, but these three, and with the two assassination attempts with Trump, I'm thinking that it still comes down to being staged, and I'll get to that here in a moment. But these four individuals throughout history have three, a first, a middle, and a last name, and the number of letters total adds up to 18. That seems to be some sort of an interesting pattern. I don't know. Is it deliberate? Could very well be. And I suppose in a sense, if you wanted to split the amount of letters up evenly, it'd be 6 letters for the first name, 6 letters for the middle name, and 6 letters for the last name. Although Barack Obama also has 18 letters in total. Barack Hussein Obama, I believe it works out to 18 letters. I could be wrong. Anyway, I don't know about you, but I've never really seen Trump go golfing in a full suit and tie. And apparently there was, his legs seem to have also disappeared with all of that. I've never seen the footage, but it has been brought up on a couple of channels that I do watch. So I've also heard speculation, I guess would be the best way to say it, is that he is in Cheyenne Mountain doing quite well, and what's out there is a body double. So, fuck me, who knows? I have no idea. I think at this point, what you said, Naroki, is the most likely, the most logical thing that needs to be done is that the trap has to be set, the bait being Trump, real or fake, I don't know, to for the first attempt, much less the second. Apparently, with the first attempt, there was no blood on the original footage that was released, but a day later or whatever the time frame is, apparently there is blood. So I don't know. My opinion being that this is most likely ways to wake up the general public, or at least those that don't like the guy, to really drive it home that, as you said, this is the extent that, if you didn't say it, I'll say it now anyway. This is the extent that the powers that be will allow you to think you have a choice on who gets elected. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You get the choice of who to elect because they have been selected, and not by you, not by me, but by the ones that are pulling the strings. And there was the meme about the 2 attempts were, well, in one form or another, blatantly have been BlackRock employees to some degree or another. one thing I did mention on on one of the Telegram channels that I'm a part of is I saw the picture of the guy, number 2, Ruth, and I'm sorry, but I've never seen a man be as thin as he is, and he seems to have a small setting. He's got some well, for an Asian woman, he's got itty bitty titties. His pecs do not look like they should be as big as they are. I mean, it's disgusting. So it could very well be that he's taking some sort of unnatural chemicals. I don't know. And much like any mass shooter, the amount of information that's available about any sort of psychological or mental issues are kept, strangely enough, it's always kept quiet. I don't know why. Well, I do know why, but I don't know why they would do that. So take that however you will. Fuck. But and I listen to enough podcasts of Next Level Soul, I believe is what it's called. And we're going through a very bumpy period of time. Things will get better. But I mean, as the saying goes, it's always darkest before the dawn. We'll see that dawn. At least I'm of the opinion. We'll see that dawn within the next six months to a year. It's just that we have to go through a lot more shit before it gets better. It's just going to be not terribly pleasant, I guess, would be one way to put it. So I'm not getting upset by any of this. I've got no control over it. And it's in a country that if I could vote, I would be voting for Trump. And yeah, that's really all that I've got to say at this point. So back to you, my friend.
Yeah, the whole thing about this is that, I mean, yeah, okay, it may have been a body double. Maybe he decided there's a lot of maybes there. Bottom line is that someone still did make an attempt to kill someone that they thought was Trump. And the way that they're handling it this time is going to make it very difficult for them to attempt a third time. But again, it's like, I have a feeling, I mean, I won't say gravestones in his eyes, but, if they are that determined to see him dead, they are going to get to him eventually. Which I suspect is one of the reasons why J.D. Vance is involved. Here's a really weird thing about J.D. Vance, though. J.D. Vance's campaign was paid for by a guy by the name of Peter Thiel, who is the one of the guys who's involved in the PayPal mafia. Now, Peter Thiel is also the guy who bankrolled Hulk Hogan's lawsuit against, I can't remember who he was suing against, but I mean, he bankrolled that particular lawsuit. Not Nick Reddy. Yeah, Gawker Media. Because Gawker Media outed Peter Thiel as being gay. Now, Peter Thiel is a very strange individual, and he was recently on the Joe Rogan podcast. Now, I don't have any issues with him, but there's enough red flags around Peter Thiel at this point for me to kind of go, yeah, okay, is J.D. Vance just a sounding board for a very reclusive millionaire who also has an association with In-Q-Tel, a big, massive intelligence contractor for multiple government agencies, in particular in regards to military intelligence. And this person that he's partnered up with there has a predilection towards children. That would probably be my guess. Now, that does not necessarily mean that Peter Thiel is that way, just a couple of red flags. But with that, we will move on to the next show.
If I can just step in with one thing I've heard about Peter Thiel, he seems to have invested in a company that gets shall we say, young blood. So I think
blood plasma. Yeah,
but that plasma is from kids.
Yes.
So we'll leave that one alone.
Anyway, yeah, there's enough going on about Peter Thiel and his connection to J.D. Vance for another one. Those of us to go, Anyway, let's move on to the next topic here. So the next topic, and this one just leaves me gobsmacked because, I mean, this is the same place. This is the same studio that recently brought you the Deadpool movie, which did ridiculously well. The show is called Agatha All Along, and it is easily the Wokest Show, and it is brought to you by the same individual who same company that brought you Wolverine versus Deadpool, which is a very strange thing to do because I was just hearing, and we covered this on the show, about how the MCU had apparently fired most of his had fired most of their woke staff on that show. They had fired most of their activists. Had fired most of their activist producers and so on and so forth, but yet they go and make this show Agatha All Along, and they go and promote it as they literally, to the point where they double down. Now, I haven't actually seen the reviews on it, but apparently the reviews are less than spectacular, although it is not as bad as some of the other stuff that has come out, which is weird, because it appears as though, and I'm just going to say it, appears as though they fluked into getting some actual talented writers, because it's not getting destroyed in the press the way some of the other earlier MCU shows. So maybe they are learning a little bit. Again, right, keep in mind, this is Disney. Keep in mind that the indoctrination of children, not the entertainment of families, appears to be Disney's top priority right now. They made a movie and they chose to and they basically pulled the Kathleen Kennedy Panderstone move, and they made it bad and made her gay. Now, it's not as bad as it could have been, but it is still apparently not particularly likable, although I haven't seen the reviews for it. Again, though, I will emphasize this for you. On this particular show, they promoted the woke content of this show right through the roof. And because they promoted it right through the roof, it is probably not doing as well in the ratings in terms of viewership as something else does. And again, keep in mind here, Disney recently got caught in a bad way by O'Keefe Media Group openly trying to indoctrinate kids on multiple levels. So the circus that is Disney continues. And at this point, to quote some, and when we get to, because when we talked about this, when we talked about Brie Larson being Darth Revan, it's like somebody said this about Disney, and I think it's a perfect analogy. Disney has an allergy to making money.
Oh my god, that could. Oh.
Disney just does not seem to want to make money.
Nope, they don't. They don't.
And this is yet another review on it. I'm going to let Rearson do some talking while I actually look at some headlines and see what is actually going on. All right, so Rearson, take it away.
Agatha All Along, the wokest, gayest MCU thing ever, at least up to this point. I'm happy with people like Nerdrotic and Critical Drinker and whoever else is going to be watching that filth and that garbage and giving it a review. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Those guys are saying what's going through my head for the most part anyway. And I'm actually not worried about Agatha at all. Excuse me. It was said, I guess is the best way to say it. It was said that with Agatha, it was before Agatha was released, that 10 writers, I think it was, were let go from Marvel's staff. And that was a big enough shift. Kevin Feige has gone on record to basically say, in one form or another, that, yeah, after Endgame, we wanted to go woke, and, well, we're going broke, so you know that doesn't work anymore. And for what it's worth, and it was it Inside Out 2 or something like that? I can't fucking remember what the Pixar movie was. If that movie didn't make a profit, Pixar would basically be on the chopping block and it would be gone. Totally fucking gone. Like it or not. And they scrubbed everything that was woke, that was lesbian, and fixed this and the other, that and the other thing. And I feel sorry for the staff that had to burn the midnight oil to meet the deadline for it to be acceptable for it to be released. But hey, that's what happens. That's the way that it went. So for me, at the end of the day, at this point right now, as I said, with Feige basically acknowledging that, yep, we done there fucked up, and that's exactly what this is, in my honest opinion. They fucked up, and they know it. Whatever turds are left that need to go into the punch bowl from Marvel, we're probably going to see 2 to 3 years of garbage that is ultimately, is Disney better off to release it as it is? And it's probably for the best for Disney to do that, because if it is a loss that goes against the profits, which will have them pay less in taxes, I believe is the best way to sum it up. What's coming down the road for the next installation of Marvel, I have no idea. I really don't. I mean, I think I've heard that Black no, Ironheart is not going to go through. It's just one of those, oh, look, it's Iron Man. Only she's female. Only Iron Man is Iron bitch. Oh, look at that.
And black.
She's black. And she's got a big fucking afro. Oh, sorry, that's in the comics. Where that afro goes, beats the fucking shit out of me when that helmet goes on. And how she can see if it's all pressed in, I'll be fucking damned on that one. Must be some new technological pocket dimension that displaces the hair into an ethereal state. I don't fucking know, and I don't fucking care. I really don't. Oh. So, the best way I've been able to sum it up on Facebook with some of the groups that I've posted in from here, there, everywhere, is that Marvel's got 2 to 3 big turds that are causing nothing but constipation because they don't know what to do with all of that. Oh, and Captain America 4. The endless reshoots. Fuck. And then what was it with the Ejaculite with Lucasfilm? It was $180 million, but it got ballooned up to 230, I think, because of reshoots. I don't know. I don't fucking know. I don't fucking care. It's just fucking hilarious. So, yeah, you might be the ones that are creating the content, but ultimately, and I said it before and I'll say it again, like way back when I said I'm the one that decides, I'm the gatekeeper as to what I pay for what is effectively a luxury item. And Disney Plus is, well, again, Disney is now, of the 5 or 6 studios, Paramount is doing worse than Disney, but Disney is at number 5. That's right, it was 5 out of 6. Sony's doing better. Universal, MGM, whatever. So Disney's on the ropes at this point. And it's not to say, and I think you had said this or someone else had said it, I can't remember. No, it might have been a YouTuber. Actually, it was a YouTuber because I just re-listened to what Critical Drinker and Neurotic had to say with Piers Morgan and 2 male and female black individuals that are in the industry. But they basically said Disney's not the only one that's doing the woke agenda shit. They're the ones that have, well, Star Wars has failed. Star Wars is a complete total failure at this point. Again, it's really starting with Gina Carano. That's when really it was going downhill. And then Captain Marvel, movies 1 and 2. She-Hulk being an absolute fucking disaster.
The porno for Captain Marvel was better than the movie.
Must fuck. That's fine.
To quote Nihilist, 4 social diseases out of 5 on the porn rating.
Well, I can't remember who it was. I remember hearing about it somewhere, but there's been a fangirl or 2 within the porn industry has basically said, I've acted in better stuff than what Marvel has put out recently enough, or something to that effect.
Oh, there are some porn producers that actually do. There's actually a guy who does Deadpool in porn. He even gets the Ryan Reynolds voice down pretty well. And he also gets to fuck Red Sonja up the ass, but we're kind of diverting from the actual topic.
I gotta ask, is that on your hard drive? I'm just wondering. Anyway, that's fine.
Yes, it is, but continue.
Oh, fucking heavens. Oh, I haven't said it this yet. No folk standards. No, folks, no standards at all.
We've been strong in our commitment. That's where we're at number 400 episodes of No Standards. Continue.
It was somewhere about 200. I think that we just fully embraced it. I mean, fuck. And that's what I miss about not being on here, is just to go off on the tangents and to not necessarily make porn references or whatever, but just to go, it's like, folks, no standards at all. Anyway, but like I said, to drive the point home, when porn makes better stuff for content to watch, what you're doing, that's fine. I don't care. I'm subject to do that myself quite a bit when I'm watching that stuff. But when you see porn that's being made that is better than what Disney's putting out, there's a huge fucking problem with that. I mean, Disney's getting beaten out by the adult film industry. Let's think about that let's think about that.
Well, I mean, OnlyFans is financially outperforming UFC, so there's that too. Not that I'm ever on OnlyFans, but I point made, right?
Yeah, no, fair enough. And again, with OF, I don't remember who the hell it was. I had a subscription for one or two of them. There was really not much. She was Asian. That's all I remember. Oh, that's right. It was that woman that was advertising on Leo List, but she was escorting, but not in which I would have loved to have just banged the shit out of her. Anyway.
Yeah, she had a nice rack, that one. Continue.
Did she ever? Anyway. But at the end of it all, that's it. I mean, I remember reading an article, one of the newspapers that was online at the time, and I think that this was in excess of about 12 years ago. And the question came down to, I think I was working at Shaw at the time. The question of, does Disney own anything that's in the adult film industry?
Not directly.
Not directly. I'm sure they do. It would only make sense because it just generates that there's just so much money that's generated for the biological human need to procreate.
And all the money for chiropractors for suspicious cases of tendonitis in the shoulder and the elbow and the hands, but we won't go there.
And why do males have a tendency to be more buffed on one side of the body? I don't know. Although I can say that I'm not buff at all, so that myth don't work for me, at least anyway. And I just don't see your arms being disproportionately bigger either. Anyway, whatever. Like I said, when it comes down to it, there's probably going to be 2 or 3 more stinkers, and within 3 years, it took Star Wars about 3 years to nosedive, and it was about the same time for Marvel as well. When was Endgame? That was what, 2018, 2019, wasn't
it? Endgame, that was 2019, I think.
Okay, and
before COVID, yeah. I remember that was the year that I went to the expo.
Okay. Oh, was that the one when you came? We were in Calgary for the expo.
Yeah.
And that's when the Barbarian had the hairy eyeball for you.
Yeah, that one.
The trouble you get yourself into, my friend, is just amazing. Anyway.
I don't know what that dude's for, because I ran into him the following day, and it was like I didn't even exist to him. It was like really weird.
Well, he was drunk, and it was fresh in his mind that you were chatting up his bitch. Anyway.
Hey, I wasn't chatting up his bitch. His bitch was chatting me up. She liked me, even though I wasn't nearly as buff as he was.
Yeah, but you're taller. You're taller, and you've got more hair than he did, I believe. Anyway, regardless, one way or the other, we're gonna be. What the fuck? Oh, sorry, I'm gonna have to mute. When I find my phone, I'm gonna have to mute it. There it is. Anyway, at the end of the day, we're looking at 3 to 4 years before something good is going to start to come out from maybe 2 to 3 years we're going to see before anything good is going to come out from Marvel. Now, so for the time being, we're just going to have to put up with the garbage. So we'll see. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if Feige was told, okay, this is it. You've got to turn this around. And like I said, whatever Disney does with what's post production, just not released, that's their problem, not mine. So, fuck. And on that note, I got nothing more to say.
Well, I mean, I did say at the start of the year that you might see a dead cat bounce in the film industry, because it would appear as though that there are enough people who are aware that Get Woke Go Broke is a real thing, that they're actually starting to come out with real movies. It's very clear from something. Oh, and I looked at Metacritic, IMDb, and Rotten Tomatoes for Agatha All Along. It got an 82% on Rotten Tomatoes, but then again, Rotten Tomatoes has been completely compromised and delegitimized at this point. IMDb, and keep in mind the film that is mostly for the people who actually, because I mean, in order to give a rating on that show, you actually have to be a member of that platform. And it's got about a 6.7 there. Keep in mind, though, that the film community tends to be rather woke in general. That is going to eventually change, but for now it is relatively woke. And IMDb has done a better job of steering clear of relying on BlackRock money to pay the bills, as a matter of speaking, so they're not as corrupted. Metacritic, though, and I found this really interesting, because Metacritic's usually the place that I now go to get my ratings. It's got a 4.9. Conclusion from having seen all that is that the show it's probably better written, and it probably does have aspects to it that are better than most of the MCU shows, aka it's not like The Acolyte, but it is very meh, probably like unremarkable, and it's not the hit everyone was hoping. Of course it won't be, but I mean, it's not the hit that they were hoping it was going to be, but it's gonna kind of break even from what I can see. And with that, let's move on to the next topic. Okay, so this next topic is, and again, right, as we get closer to the actual election itself, again, right, if you look at the polls and you look at some of the people, and again, they had this one guy on, and this guy had predicted, I think, 9 of the last 10 elections, and he said that Kamala Harris was going to win, and then he started getting really sucked, and then he started like sugarcoating it so much that it was pretty obvious that he'd been bought off. At least from my perspective, he'd been bought off. Now, the one thing that I am currently seeing, though, is that Biden had a 7 or 8 point lead over Trump, and he needed to cheat to win. Hillary Clinton had a 4 or 5 point lead, and she lost. Kamala Harris just has been, it is still neck and neck at this point. So translation is that Trump's probably I'm going to say Trump's probably going to take this one. That's my gut feeling on this, but you never know. She's losing popularity. The honeymoon is over, and they've attempted, this was stated over a year ago. This was stated back in 2023. And this guy was on the record saying they were going to do one of 3 things. One, they were going to try and throw Trump in jail. Well, it's now 9 days after the last chance to sentence Trump to anything, and that failed. 2, they were going to try and assassinate him. We've already covered that, 2 of them so far. And the third thing that they were going to try and do was they were going to try to create some type of crisis or event that was going to postpone the election. So you've got a situation in Israel right now. I don't have a dog in that fight. And when I have commented on it, I have had pro-Palestinian people try to scream me down. I have promptly told them to fuck off and die, and that I'm going to say what I need to say on the issue. If I'm leaning anywhere, it's probably slightly towards Israel, but that's like, I don't have, but anyway, you have a situation in North America right now, and the West in general, but specifically in North America right now, where you have the left completely opposed to what Israel is doing, and you now, thanks to the alt media, have a right that is kind of like, why are we even there? Why are we getting involved? Now, we have had an alleged third assassin exposed who just conveniently happened to be Iranian. That's just a coincidence, of course. That's totally a coincidence. Just put it out of your mind. Just like how you put out of your mind that the two people who have attempted to assassinate Trump so far have both appeared in videos that were done by companies that were owned by BlackRock. That's the type of thing you got to put in the back of your mind here. The knowing what's going on, knowing that their internal polling is probably showing that they're losing, so they need to do something. So what they started to do, and Putin actually, and we will be covering this on 401, Putin has actually gone on the record and saying, it's like, yeah, like, if you do this in Ukraine, we will use nuclear weapons. So he has basically ramped it up to Cuban Missile Crisis levels, not because he wants to, but because he has to. And the situation in Iran is also because Israel has expanded this war now to Lebanon to try and get Hezbollah, and Iran is getting involved there. So instead of doing what a normal, sane group of people would do, which is send in diplomats and resolve the thing, the United States decides to move an entire fleet and 30,000 combat troops back into the Middle East, which is, of course, as we all know, in no way inflammatory. Hold on a second. The fact that Biden happens, that the Biden administration, or now the Harris administration, is losing potentially the election, and that they are going to need some type of a major distraction to prevent Trump from winning, or to give an excuse to postpone the election, that's just a coincidence. And there's two ways that they can go about it, either internally or externally. Now, it wouldn't surprise me that they would also potentially, because I mean, the open border on their south makes for a rather convenient way for them to get in, that there are currently terrorists in various places in the U.S. that will happily and gleefully commit mass murder to prevent the election going on, or a foreign power attacks now readily available, and wouldn't surprise me to be somewhat under-defended U.S. troops or resources now currently in the Middle East in an attempt to spark a war. So we are 5 days away from October. We are I don't even think we're like 5.5, 6 weeks away from the election. To quote Kelso, we have to start thinking like psychopaths. Psychopaths and sociopaths look at people as things, not as people. They have no problem starting a war against either Russia or Iran, or even against BRICS, in an attempt to distract and stay in power, even though they don't even have support of more than 50% of the country to do so, even though you have a manosphere. And by the way, I have to bring this up because there is a couple of manosphere topics here tonight. If the US just starts a war just for the sake of starting a war, a lot of the things that the manosphere has been saying about the current government and the state that it's in will prove to be true, and that will be maybe not as big of a bomb as it would be perhaps if you say threw Andrew Tate in jail, but it will, like, like the only way the US and the West is going to be able to win this war will be to basically use press gangs and force people to fight the war at the end of a gun. That is not a very good thing to be doing in North America when there's 120 guns for every 100 people. And yes, okay, that's not the case in Canada. I can absolutely assure you that there will be more than a few Americans and Canadians that will happily smuggle up guns and ammunition to Canada to prevent the Canadian government from doing the exact same thing. Just saying. Right? Same thing with Mexico, although Mexico has also got a lot of guns. And is this the October surprise? Yeah. Is Putin savvy enough to figure out what the hell the Biden administration is doing? Yeah. And I said this 4 years ago when Biden won the election. There's blood in the water and the sharks are circling, and that is exactly what's going on. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rearson.
Sorry about that. As I've said before, and I'll say it again, I am ignorant to what's going on in Israel. Not said that I don't get it, but I honestly don't care. At the end of the day, when everything with Ukraine started up, I was not pro-Ukrainian, and I'm still not. And I'm half Ukrainian by today's standards. But my grandfather had left. No, when my grandfather was born, he was technically Polish. And I think that where he was, or where he had lived, I believe would have made him Ukrainian at this point, because I'm of the opinion that the southern border between Russia, between Poland and Ukraine, once things were redrawn after World War One, that's when he became Ukrainian at that point, or might have been after World War II. I don't know. I don't care. All I know is that I'm Slavic. My grandfather spoke Ukrainian. My grandmother, who I never met, she spoke Ukrainian. And again, the point for me is that I should have gotten upset with it, but I didn't. I still don't care. Again, I can't control what's going on over there, but I mean, for me, I'm of the opinion that there's quite a few things that are going on, and it's, well, in a way, it's all part of the big network when we get to number 5. So that being said, what happens in and around Israel, Lebanon, Syria, Gaza, whatever other countries or territories or whatever, they're going to do what they're going to do. Anybody with half a brain that can see and go back and take a look at what happened, excuse me, and this is something again that I've said before, and I'll say it again here. Israel needs boogeyman out there to justify its existence, to justify doing what they're doing, to maintain their position or to increase it. It's been widely speculated that, and again, it's rather interesting that when the state of Israel was first made, there were a lot of Ukrainian Jews that left and moved down there, resettled down there. And again, the Khazarian mafia was operating out of half of Ukraine. Basically, Kiev was on the border of its known territories at that one point. So, point being, is that to me, those three countries, empires, whatever you want to call them, it's not that they're all connected, they're all one and the same. It's just times have changed. And and then this will go back to the Rothschilds, where the old fucker, I don't remember what his name is, has the Treaty of Balfour, and it's one of his most prized possessions, and that was the British Prime Minister at the time of breakout of the First World War had made the promise to the Rothschild family that they would create Israel, or Israel in the beginning stages of being created. So, and that took what, about 30 years for that to actually happen. So that country itself is, in a way, I guess the only way to say it is that it's artificial, totally artificial. I heard from a friend, a guy that I used to work with, he had said that before World War II, Arabs and Jews were living quite well with each other. There was no problems at all, per se, and no one hated another one any more or any less. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I really don't know. So, and for something relatively recent that I do remember back at the beginning of the millennium, is that George W. Bush had pivoted over the course of a couple of months, I believe, that he was saying that Saddam Hussein probably did it, the 9/11, and that's something that's likely to be always Israeli as well too, but that's another story. Saddam Hussein was the one that created 9/11, or was the mastermind behind it. No traction. And eventually it went from, he dropped the narrative of it being Hussein orchestrated 9/11 to, he's got weapons of mass destruction, we have to go after him. So, and again, that was at the UN, and the UN was that the land that was the land in that the UN is on was donated by the Rockefellers, I believe, and that's another elite family that's all fucking messed up as well too. So it's, if you can see patterns from the past, it should give a pretty damn good indication as to what's going to happen in the future, or the present, or the future. So for me, this is just, my beef with Israel is not the citizens, it's the people, the bureaucrats that are behind the scenes, that are maintaining the hostility in the area. So, yeah, it's a big mess. And again, with the from the Q posts, apparently Israel is being saved for last. So I think that we're looking at the final stages of all of this shit going on, as I had said, that we're looking at, it could be 6 months to a year where it's still going to be, we're still in for a bumpy ride, folks. So Israel is something that has to be resolved. I think that Taiwan still has to also be dealt with as well, for issues that are quite similar, in my honest opinion, to what's going on in Ukraine. So, and I do not, the talk of this escalating to World War III, I'm not buying it. I really am not. I'm not buying it at all. So for me, it's a nothing burger. And again, at the end of the day, I have no input on what goes on. I have nothing I say or do will make any difference. I'm not going out there supporting Gaza or the Palestinians. I'm not going out there to support Israel or the Israelis. They're both right and they're both wrong. How it's going to turn out, what's going to happen when the dust all settles, beats the shit out of me on this one again. But again, I don't care that much. I really don't. So we have to let the power play itself out, and that's really about it. So back to you, my friend.
Yeah. Here's hoping that smarter heads will prevail and avoid World War III. And I think this is probably the best way to sum it up. Vote for Trump and have cheaper groceries. Vote for Biden, or vote for Harris, sorry, and you get World War III, led by a bunch of incompetent generals that don't even have the majority support of the United States behind them. Which is one of the reasons that Putin knows that he can ramp up the rhetoric, because there's no cultural will in the United States to go to war. There just isn't. And no matter how much, and you will notice that the two left-wing governments that just got recently elected, both France and Britain, are the ones that are doing most of the saber rattling. I can virtually guarantee you that saber rattling will stop if Trump is elected, because the reason why France and Britain are doing all the saber rattling is because they know the current administration has their back. That will change. Anyway, moving on to the next topic. And this one is very interesting, although strangely enough, I never really had. I didn't say I disliked P. Diddy or Puff Daddy as well, what he used to be known as. Puff Daddy or P. Diddy has been around for a long time. Now, one of the things that Puff Daddy or P. Diddy used to be accused of was stealing other people's songs and then altering them up just a little bit and then passing them off as his own. Not a lot of original content. And you look at him and you look at the content he's created, and you kind of are left scratching your head and wondering how it is that he got to where he got, because he is a living personification of good artists create, great artists copy. And having been a guy who has had his stuff and had his content borrowed from, I have encountered probably 6 or 7 different times on other podcasts or other channels, including people that I like, have borrowed my content and have made their own and never bothered to so much as even acknowledge that I was the one that gave them the idea. And I have definitely seen some, even a couple of my ideas actually kind of, although I can't specifically recall which ones, but I've seen a couple of my concepts really actually take hold in the manosphere specifically. So yeah, in the manosphere, I am definitely an influence. But getting back to P. Diddy, there was always, for me anyway, there was always something off about him. I mean, Kanye West had some issues too. And I don't think Kanye West shouldn't have ever gotten involved with the Kardashians in any kind of form or fashion. But at least Kanye West woke up. P. Diddy never woke up. P. Diddy, in all likelihood, either sold his soul to the devil or he sold his soul out to a bunch of corporate interests, which is basically the functioning equivalent or the non-theistic equivalent of selling your soul to the devil in order to get the popularity. And he is a decent enough artist and musician that when he borrowed other people's songs and he recreated them, he did it in a way that he was able to make money out of it, make a lot of money out of it. Now, just like Harvey Weinstein, though, when you start looking at P. Diddy and you look at Harvey Weinstein, and it's like and also, by the way, you also look at some of the stuff that went on between Mr. Beast and Ava Chris Tyson, but I will not cover that too much in this particular episode. One of the things that happens Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, there's been no problem, man. Keep going.
Oh, hold on a second. I don't know what the hell happened. Say something again.
Okay, you should be able to hear me.
Okay, say it again.
Hello.
What the hell happened? No, I'm getting you on the speaker. I'm not getting you on my phones.
Okay. Anyway.
Oh, wait, I know what happened. Okay. Okay, say something again.
Yes, Jabu.
Oh, for God's sakes. Okay, never mind. I'm just going to plug it in here.
All right.
Oh. Okay, I don't know what the hell happened. How am I sounding?
I really haven't noticed that much of a difference. You might hear it, but I don't know. You sound fine to me.
Okay, I don't know what the hell happened. All of a sudden, the microphone, for whatever reason. Oh, wait, no, it's back. All right. All right, so yeah, okay, the microphone is back working again. All right, so yeah, sorry, technical issue there, folks. It is very, very clear that people from his past knew something. And if you're wondering what the hell am I talking about here, Jennifer Lopez has allegedly, and I don't know whether this is actually true or not because I was never really a fan of P. Diddy, although when I was going back into the city this week, there was a lot of discussion about P. Diddy on the bus. The dildos and lube were of particular incriminating evidence against P. Diddy, but I will go back to the point. Jennifer Lopez has allegedly gotten a lawyer to deal with anybody who attempts to say, did Jennifer Lopez know this? Did Jennifer Lopez know that? Did da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, which kind of indicates to me that J-Lo probably does know something. And it's probably one of the reasons why she left him, among other things. Curiously enough, her now ex-husband, Ben Affleck, had the same kind of situation going on with Harvey Weinstein. And as this continues to drop, as the names continue to drop,
it's getting more and more incriminating. And this is on top of all of the other stuff that's been going on in Hollywood over the years. Now, my thinking on this is what they're going to have to do with P. Diddy is that they're going to have to make sure that when they prosecute him, that it is not a federal agency that does it, nor do they want anybody connected with the California government to be doing it. They want somebody independent to be looking at this stuff. Otherwise, things like client lists, like it did with Jeffrey Epstein, are going to just disappear. Like, you're seeing a lot of panic, and you're also, strangely enough, out of Hollywood, you're seeing it's not so much you're hearing, but it's what you're not hearing. Like, you're seeing a lot of celebrities go really, really quiet about this particular issue. And again, having read commentaries from various actors who maybe didn't participate in said events, but were aware that they were going on and chose not to say anything about it because these people could ruin their careers. So even though they weren't participating, they stayed quiet about it. And having had enough actors make comments like that, including I'm going to have to maybe go look for it. Apparently there's one behind the scenes camera footage where you have Angelina Jolie talking about her encounter with some cultists when she was younger. And given that she grew up in the Hollywood system, it kind of maybe explains why she's maybe not the most sane individual out there. Just saying. The tattoos might also be a dead giveaway. But again, right, I suspect we're going to be doing more than a few episodes on P. Diddy along the way. The evidence facing P. Diddy is pretty overwhelming. I am not going to say he's guilty because I don't know if he's guilty, and I never really followed P. Diddy or what he did enough to really care about him, but I knew he was there. And am I surprised? Well, again, just go back to the 90s and see his content back then and listen to it, and then listen to the stuff that he borrowed from and just copied and made a different version of it and became rich that way. You know, one of the jokes that I remember listening when I was living in Calgary back in the 90s is, here's a retro song whose lyrics Puff Daddy didn't steal. That's all I'm going to say about that. Rierson, over to you.
Can you jump into Telegram?
No, but I can turn Telegram on.
Because I've just sent you something regarding Diddy. It's
Oh my God, is that Bono?
watch the clip.
I am watching the clip.
And yes, it is.
I was never a fan of Bono.
I can't stand him. I have never, ever liked. I always felt that U2 was one of the most overrated bands ever. And whatever soul they had, they sold it when Rattle and Hum came out. That's when they worked with Daniel Lanois, and I've got some interesting ideas about all of that. But needless to say, I don't think Bono has a soul to begin with. But you will have to agree. It looks like Diddy's going in for a kiss.
No, it absolutely looks like he went in for a kiss.
Now, I'm starting to put a couple of things together that I've heard over the course of time. And there was always rumor of the R&B, rap, hip hop gay mafia. And I got a feeling that that's what they're talking about is Diddy. Within the black community, there are two people you don't talk bad about: Denzel Washington and Diddy. Those are the two names that I've heard. There's, I'll say it for what it is for now, speculation that, and this is coming from former bodyguards, for example, of Diddy, is that he's got tapes just like Epstein of celebrities, artists, musicians, probably athletes, politicians, of people doing things that I can imagine, and I can imagine very darkly. I can't say it's happened, but I believe this to be true. Apparently, the Obamas had attended parties, and apparently Michelle, without the LE, apparently has incriminating evidence against her, him, whatever, of murdering a child at Diddy's freak off parties, whatever. And the lyrics with Justin Bieber basically saying he sold his soul for a Ferrari because he was at one of Diddy's parties. This, I think, could be the rollout for the dark side of being rich and famous, I guess is about the best way to say it. Now, since this is in LA, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if Nancy Pelosi or her husband were in attendance of any of his parties. And we talked about Paul Pelosi already. Was it Paul Pelosi? I think. Anyway, Nancy's husband having problems with that drug addict, prostitute, and the hammer that was smashed from the inside to the outside. I don't fucking know. I don't remember much about it, but anyway. Folks, do not be the least bit surprised that this is going to stop Hollywood. I can think of one actor in particular that has pissed me off so much, and we've talked about him on a few occasions. Won't name names, but I had an issue with a 3-year-old dressing up as a trooper. I'll just leave it at that. I would not be surprised if he had attended any of those parties. I don't want to think it, but I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. And I heard from someone speculate, and it makes sense. This could very well be the reason why the U.S. may not have any election, because there are too many politicians that will be exposed, that will be implicated either through Diddy or it's going to be through Epstein. There was an interesting point of view that I had heard earlier today, that Epstein was enough to wake people like Neuroki and I up, for example, as to what's going on or how bad things are because of Little St. James, with the cruise ship stopping over there frequently enough. But Epstein was not a name that was recognized. Most people hadn't heard of him, and those that did, it wouldn't be something to wake up, not necessarily my mom or my parents, but this could be enough to wake up, say, for example, the one sibling of mine that she and I have no relationship with. She was always into the rap and the dance and whatever else, So I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if Diddy's music was in her musical repertoire of stuff she would or could be listening to. So the opinion being is that Epstein was a good primer, but it was a dud. And again, it's the first time in history that someone's been thrown in prison, Ghislaine Maxwell, going to prison with no evidence presented. Diddy, I'm of the opinion that he has not as much blackmail material as Epstein does, but it's still up there. Prince Andrew is apparently one of them. Let's see, Oprah has had her picture taken with him. I'm of the opinion that J-Lo knows everything that's gone on. I'm of the opinion. And wouldn't surprise me if she partook in some of the darker, if she participated, period. And with Barack Obama, a clear implication as well. So we'll see how this is going to work out. I don't know, but I think that this is the necessary step to waking up the population to North America, in Europe, and enough around the world as well too, because I know that Combs, he also went into fashion, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think he did. Yeah, he went into fashion as well. So he is a household name. So if this goes in the direction that I think it does, and I believe it will, this is going to be the shit that sticks to the wall, but that's just my opinion. So, folks, get ready for a bumpy fucking ride. And don't be the least bit surprised if celebrities that you have looked up to, that I'm fully expecting there are going to be people that I have looked up to that are going to be implicated with these parties. So probably a lot of Hollywood A-listers are going to go down in flames. There'll be, I'm sure, a lot of actors, actresses, politicians, like I said, athletes, any celebrity overall that was in and around LA at some point in time, chances are that they were there at some point or another. So absolute debauchery, and it goes, well, it's probably well beyond, although maybe it is, I don't know, any kind of crap going on that we've heard from OF girls of what happens in Dubai, pissing and shitting and whatever else, I don't know. And I think that this actually does, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if there was a connection with enough Canadian politicians. So shall we move on to number 6?
Yeah, hold on a second here. I'm looking something. I'm looking something up. I'm trying to. Oh, what the hell is the guy's name? That former Nickelodeon employee that got charged with.
Oh, Schneider.
Not Schneider. No, Schneider was the guy who ran Nickelodeon. He wasn't the one who was actually involved. Brian Peck, that was his name. Yeah. Okay, Brian Peck was. Yeah, you want to know who Brian Peck got reemployed by when he got out of jail? Have a guess.
He was arrested for sexually assaulting Drake Bell. Okay.
Yeah, he got rehired by Disney when he got out.
Fuck, that's a shocker.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and then of course you have an open.
What?
What?
James Marsden and more celebrities revealed signing the Brian Peck letters. Oh man.
Sorry, say that again.
Drake Bell says Brian James Marsden. It's a name I kind of recognize. I just don't.
Oh, I recognize the name too. I just can't remember where I seen him. Right.
James Marsden and more stars revealed signing Brian Peck letters of support.
Oh yeah, I saw an open, not an open secret, that Quiet on Set show, that documentary series. That there was a lot of support for Brian Peck in the courtroom versus how many people were supporting the guy who was allegedly sexually assaulted by Brian Peck, that Drake guy. Most of the celebrities that were on that wrote letters in support of Brian Peck have never apologized.
Well, let's not be surprised with the likelihood that they're involved in Diddy's freakouts or freak-offs as well.
Yeah, not a surprise at all. And then, of course, there was that rather creepy encounter I had with the guy who claimed he was from what the hell was that? At one point.
Digital Entertainment Network.
Yeah, I remember that because it happened right near the end of my stay in Banff. I told you about this before. Some creepy dude was all fucking handsy with me. When I told him I was interested in filmmaking and being an actor and a performer, whatever, and he said, "Well, no," and it's like, and he was ironically right. Is that he told me, well, he was on vacation. He told me it was like, like the future of entertainment is going to be the internet. You need to hop on board with that. And it was like he was trying to say that to impress me because he was being, which is funny because usually I'm not the twink type. Like I'm not blonde haired, blue eyed, or anything like that. The guy gave me the creeps, and it wasn't until I saw an open secret several years later because he mentioned Dan to me,
yeah.
And it was like when I saw that an open secret, it was like holy shit. Dude was on vacation in the Rockies, and he fixated on me. And
he probably would have liked me if I expressed any interest. Just saying.
No, you weren't with me at the time. Yeah, no, the dude was creepy as fuck, and he gave me his card and I tossed it, which is just too bad because I probably should have fucking kept it. But it was like, yeah, no, but I remember him saying specifically that, and it turned out that he's actually right. But yeah, there's so much smoke. Well, I mean, just with Harvey Weinstein, there was so much smoke. And it's like, now you got P. Diddy. And of course, you've got all the other stuff that's been going on. It's getting harder and harder. Again, right? Because they don't have control over the media anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And because they don't have control over the media anymore, and their attempts to try to take out the alt media have been failing miserably, and they're in a catch-22 with the alt media. And I'm going to go on the record and say this for 2025. They're going to go really, hold on a second, I'm getting scratchy throat again. They're going to go hard after the alt media next year, regardless of whether Trump wins or loses, simply because, it's getting harder and harder and harder for them to keep secrets. It's getting increasingly difficult for BlackRock to buy everything up. It's getting it's all slowly weeding out of their control, and it's requiring more and more and more state authority to do it, which is one of the reasons, by the way, why they're so desperate to hold on, why they have to keep Biden and Harris in office, because they're not going to be able to pull any of this shit with Trump there, or they will, but to a much lesser extent.
Well, this would explain why a lot of this whole thing with Diddy could also explain why a lot of celebrities have lost their shit on Trump. A lot of them, as to how they exploded on social media. I mean,
Well, they live in a bubble.
for example,
Who?
remarks that Madonna has said.
Oh my God, Madonna! Don't even get me started. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm just going to say with her, she was happy to show the Illuminati on her leather jacket in her first music video, or one of them anyway. So, as far as I'm concerned, that woman is as dirty as you can possibly fucking imagine. That's just me.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I said, man, I think that this is going to be the first. The cracks in the dam have been there, but I think that this is going to be the first chunk where the water is going to finally start to drain, and the information that's going to flood the normie collective, I guess is the best way to say it. It's going to be coming out, and it's going to come out hard, and it's going to come out fast, and it's going to be fucking dirty, absolutely fucking dirty. So that's just my opinion.
Yep. Well, as expected, we almost ran a half an hour on this particular episode. I suspect we will be going back to this one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we will definitely be going back to this one. We almost went half an hour on this one, which is absolutely no surprise. More will be revealed, and with that, I want to get on with the next topic, because this is the Canadian content.
All right, fair enough. Let's go.
Okay. Well, I remember specifically you saying that the Bloc Québécois was going to support Trudeau, and they did. Here's the thing, and this Jagmeet Singh has pretty, and I've noticed it, because I've gone over to 338 Canada, and I've noticed, and the NDP support is starting to plummet as well. Right? Jagmeet Singh went, we are going to break the alliance with the Liberals. And, of course, the moment he said that, Pierre Poilievre brought forward a non-profit motion. And then Jagmeet Singh said, he reworded his statement, says, yes, we broke the... It was a non-confidence motion, but I mean, it's like Jagmeet Singh came back and said, well, yeah, we broke our alliance with the Liberals, but we're not going to automatically vote against them on every single bill. And of course, the BQ and the Greens, yes, I am getting quite tired of the BQ and the Greens also supported. So the non-confidence motion failed, which is pretty much what people were expecting it to. It did do exactly what it was supposed to do, though, and it put Jagmeet Singh on the spot and revealed him to be the hypocrite that he actually is. And because it was revealed that he is a massive hypocrite and a liar and a career politician, he has cost I think it's something like between 3 and 5% of is down something like 3 or 4%, which isn't a lot in the grand scheme of things, but it reduces the NDP support for for the NDP. It has taken them from about 20 seats down to like 17 or 18. Yeah, 15. 15 seats. They were hovering around 20 or so a few days ago. Their popularity has absolutely plummeted. And I do mean plummeted. Like, it is literally the only people they have supporting them right now are far leftists, true believers, and people who have a financial stake. Far leftist true believers are people who have a financial stake in this, or people who will just vote for the party no matter what. Because Jagmeet Singh is in trouble, yeah, he could be down to as little as 10 seats at the next election. And Jagmeet Singh has done this to the NDP all by himself. His popularity is currently sitting at, yeah, I think it's sitting at about 14, 15%. So, I mean, he's really done it to himself. And, you know, not a big surprise. Of course, and this is what really pissed off somebody on Redacted. It was like, of course, the Bloc Québécois. Trudeau made a sweetheart deal with the Bloc Québécois to get their support. But what it boils down to now is that Trudeau's stink and toxicity have become so bad now that it is finally starting. And the NDP, as unpopular as Jagmeet Singh is, the NDP had really escaped most of the worst. What's happened is because he went and did what he did and then flipped over almost immediately was an indication that it's like, yeah, you know what? Jagmeet Singh can't be. So Jagmeet Singh has also eliminated himself as a potential third party candidate or as an option to either the Liberals or the Conservatives by doing what he just did. So, yeah, the provincial, the non-confidence motion failed, but it succeeded. And it succeeded in a way I don't think they were expecting it to. Because now, as it currently stands, the Liberals are now sitting, the Conservatives are now sitting with a supermajority, 220 seats, 154, which is a majority, guaranteed safe, based on last polling. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rearson.
Well, I said this before. The last non-confidence motion, I was hopeful. Well, no, sorry. I had a slight glimmer of hope that it would succeed. To kick out Trudeau, both the Bloc and the NDP have to vote against him. We have what, 338 seats, correct? Is it 338 or 318? I think it's 338. Anyway. Or is that the American system? I can't remember. Anyway. The reality that the NDP is in an election in BC, and they're also going to do an election in Saskatchewan. means that they don't have the resources, excuse me, they don't have the resources to effectively, to be able to have 3 elections in 2 provinces plus the national with their current, with their grassroots staff and volunteers. It'll make things very tiring for the voters in BC and in Saskatchewan to go to the polls yet again within 2 months, or campaigns are going to be run right after. Actually, let me just take a quick look here as to should have muted myself here, but let me just see here. So the last general election in Saskatchewan was October 26, 2020. So I believe that sometime next month is when they're going to have, yep, October 28th, 2024. And as I said, BC is right in the middle of their campaigning for re-election as well. So Singh cannot pull the pin to do this at all. And Daniel Legault, he's the Quebec premier. He's even telling the Bloc to pull the pin, but they voted in favor of. Now, we're going to go back in time to the first non-confidence motion that was tabled, and, well, obviously it didn't go through because we would have had an election already. And I said at the time that this was a great indication to show the politicians who are there to prop up the failing, incredibly unpopular Trudeau government, to show the public these are the people that are keeping the country from prosperity, basically. We're overtaxed, inflation's gone up. Well, here are the 3 parties in total. So, in a way, and it's going to take time, this is going to be a great way to drive the point home to the voters. These politicians don't give a flying fuck about you. Now, for some idiot like my father, I mentioned Polyev to him recently enough, and he was frothing at the mouth. I don't like that fucker. Blah, 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 blah. I'll never vote conservative. My father had a brush in with Jim Flaherty at the time. He tried to. I was maybe 2 or 3. My dad got into an accident, and he got represented by Jim Flaherty as a lawyer. He was the former federal finance minister in Harper's government. And he tried to get my father to join the Conservative Party. My father's always been a socialist, which would explain why he can't fucking balance his own personal budget to save his life. And now that I understand a little bit more, and I've been able to put this into context, my father won't be voting Conservative anytime soon. I can't see him voting for Polyev, period. Simply because my dad is fiscally irresponsible. I mean, he's probably going to declare bankruptcy again, and he's in his 70s. He's a man that has some interesting views, that's all I'm going to say. So that being said, it's the people that are going to vote for the NDP or the Liberals, they're like my father, he's going to go down with the sinking ship. For myself, I'm libertarian conservative leaning, as I've already expressed in numerous times on our podcast here. So for me, it's surprising, but it's disappointing at the same time. As I said, I was hoping that they were going to kick him out, or at least that the bloc was going to position themselves against, but they've been given promises. Sweet little nothings have been whispered in the Black Québécois' ears, and they're so turned on that they're going to support him till the end. So again, when the time comes to, when the election comes in, it is going, I can guarantee you that the sitting MPs of the Liberals, the NDP and the Bloc, they're going to get hammered on, hey, we know what's going on. There are 11 sitting MPs, and these two parties kept the Liberals, kept Trudeau in power for their pension, or they wanted more things. And do not be surprised at all with advertising in Quebec against the Bloc that Legault said they needed to vote against him, and look what's happened. They propped him up yet again for a little bit longer because they want more. So this is a game of it being in politics where things at the political level move at glacial speed, sort of thing. This is only going to drive the point that you can't fucking trust. I'm pretty sure it's going to be campaigned of a vote for any of these three parties means that you're going to be paying more in taxes. The carbon tax is going to go up to 61 cents a liter. I mean, it was bad enough when we got the 15-cent increase, but to have in Calgary here for gas to go from 45 cents right now up to, let's see, it would have been about $1.30 up to $1.75 in the winter, and it's going to be probably over $2 in the summer. That's going to devastate the economy. I mean, gas is ridiculously expensive in BC. It's better, but not by much. In Ontario, and it all depends where. So really, this is going to be a case of you're the people that are in it for the greed and for the power, and you guys are paying for it. So what's it going to be? This is not going to end well, period, for those three political parties. Singh is expected to lose his seat. Will he get his golden pension? Don't know. But as far as I'm concerned, you get a $2 million pension for being in Ottawa for 8 fucking years. Yeah, it must be nice to be able to be given that much, because Lord knows.
Well, I mean, his current seat is listed as pretty much NDP safe, so he is going to get reelected regardless.
Well, we'll see. I mean, if he does, that's a whole nother matter. But I mean, the scheduled election is in May, if I'm not mistaken. So there's still a lot that can happen between now and then. And again, once he gets past a certain date in February, early February, I believe, he doesn't care. So he will fuck up as much as possible, mark my words. And that's something that you and I both expect anyway. So we'll see. We'll see. But then again, if names get released with Diddy, and there's the possibility that Trudeau is tied to it, there's going to be so much outrage. It's not going to be funny. I'm not saying he is, but what if he is? So, well, time will tell. That's all I'm going to say on this one. So I got nothing more.
Okay, so taking out episode 400, the last topic is, and we didn't really cover it, did finally become an issue when some stuff was revealed about him. Now, at the time when it was revealed, I'm talking about Dr. Disrespect here. When it was revealed about him, the suggestion was that there was some type of illicit contact of a primal nature happening between Dr. Disrespect and a 16-year-old. What they tried to do is they tried to twist this around to make it look worse than what it actually was. The only problem is that the way, why can I not remember that other Twitch? The only reason Twitch decided to break contact with Dr. Disrespect, but there wasn't any smoking gun, so they had to pay out his contract. Then of course, other stuff started getting released, and it was all very salacious and it was all very damaging. And Dr. Disrespect finally had to go, yep, that's it, I quit, right? And he left. And at the time it happened, it looked like he was going to be leaving for good, because there was just so much heat going on about what was going on, and it was all suggesting that Dr. Disrespect had an affair with somebody significantly younger than him. And that was what came out. Now, when he came back, he had obviously consulted a lawyer, and he came back fully armed and ready to deal with his critics. First thing that got revealed is that the person who leaked the story was a disgruntled ex-employee who found something, and by the way, name the person, you can find the crime. That would include both me and Rearson. That would include everybody else out there. They released just enough information to make it look incriminating, and just simply allowed the internet and the media to do what the media did, which is, in a lot of cases, just take other people at their word and just run with it without actually questioning the facts or without looking. Dr. Disrespect apparently came back with the receipts. And how it's looking now is that apparently, although they were in contact with each other, they never actually physically were in the same room together, and they never spoke to each other, and there's no sexual relations involved. But that's not how it got portrayed by multiple people who were simply too lazy to fact check. Now, the reason why I brought this particular thing up is that this is yet another person who fell victim to false accusations, not done by the woman, but done by people who just simply had an axe to grind with Dr. Disrespect and were willing to lie about a relationship he was having with somebody who wasn't of age to do it. And as I'm going along and as I'm seeing all of this, and I was looking at what happens, is Dr. Disrespect is going to be just fine financially no matter what happens. But all too often you get accused of this, and you could potentially end up out on the street. That's serious stuff. That is very serious stuff. And this was just over a false allegation. Now, undoubtedly, Dr. Disrespect is going to if he's not already talking to lawyers, probably already is. The only problem is that the people who Dr. Disrespect are going after are not rich and are not wealthy. And because they're not wealthy, the only thing he's going to get is a plaque on the wall. And again, if you don't look at the particular situation and you look at the situation and you don't realize that this is like a big, huge, open sign that says, go MGTOW. Because, I mean, just like how Steven Crowder, when his ex-wife started pulling games with him and it got revealed, same thing is going to happen here. There's people in the manosphere who are reaching out to Dr. Disrespect and who are telling him exactly what he needs to do and what he shouldn't do, what he should do and what he shouldn't do. Right? Just like how Steven Crowder came along and woke up to what the manosphere was actually doing as opposed to what he was told it was doing. Same thing is probably happening with Dr. Disrespect. So every time they lay out a false accusation against somebody, even if it, like I say, I have said this from the start, and this is one of the reasons why so many men have gone MGTOW, is that any involvement with a woman hands her a metaphorical gun that she can turn, and Rearson has a personal experience with this. In fact, he was talking about her at the start of the show. Can turn and pick up and use on you at her discretion, or somebody associated with her or somebody who just knows about it can pick up that gun, and metaphorical gun I'm talking about, and use it at their discretion. And in this case, that is exactly what happened. And that is a imbalance in power that has to be addressed. If it is not addressed, guys are going to continue. Oh, and this, by the way, is on top of all of the toxicity that I am seeing feminists spew online lately. And it's not making the case that they think it's making. If anything, they're simply confirming what the whole strategy that the manosphere has been saying. Standard point, all of this toxicity, the misandric toxicity that women are saying, and of course their stimpy male allies are saying, is only making the point stronger for the manosphere, and for MGTOW, and for the Red Pill, and for PUA, and for the men's rights movement. And, everybody, for instance, everybody seems to think that, for instance, MGTOW is dead. MGTOW is not dead. MGTOW has got more people involved in it now than it did at any other. It's reached, the manosphere itself, for instance, has reached 3% of the breeding male population, fertile male population. That's the population of men between the ages of 16 and 55. 3% doesn't sound like a lot, but you need to understand that it only took 3% of the colonial U.S. population to throw out the British. That's a significant number. And that number is only going away. What are they going to do when the number hits 3% of men in general? And don't laugh, that is not that far off. You only need about 5 to 6 million men for that to happen. And at the growth rate that the manosphere is currently going through right now, that's only another 2 or 3 years away. End of 2026, start of 2027 is when that threshold gets reached. When it reaches that threshold, what the hell are they going to do? Because at that point, rhetoric isn't going to work any longer. There's going to be too many men out there who know. And hopefully stuff like what happened to Dr. Disrespect will start to drop off. People will start to ask questions. Dr. Disrespect, Johnny Depp, a few others were able to get their way out of this because they had the financial resources to fight back. To quote a guy I know, DDJ,
For every guy that you encounter that's like this, there's 500 to 1,000 that get their lives destroyed. And because of that imbalance in power, I am going to remain child-free and unmarried until further notice. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Steve. Oh, Rearson.
Don't say anything. That's fine. All works out well. I'll be independently wealthy soon enough, and it won't matter. And I'll be happy to show you what I'm doing. But until that happens, yeah. Well, by the time yeah, who knows? Who knows? In terms of disrespect, so the people that were slinging mud at him, were they male or female?
Male. Disgruntled ex-employee. And a bunch of people who just didn't like Dr. Disrespect or were envious of him.
Oh, kind of like the whole Star Wars theory and Star Wars explained drop.
Something like that. You got to understand, just like PewDiePie, I never watched Dr. Disrespect, so I really can't say what his content is or isn't like.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, fair enough. I mean, at the end of the day, I didn't follow any of this. I don't fucking care. It is unfortunate that ego is getting the better of people, but it's also human nature. Let's not kid ourselves, folks. Right? Let's not kid ourselves. It's not to say that I like the idea, because I certainly don't. But it is it's to be expected. Greed, envy, jealousy. I mean, 3 of the 7 evils, if I'm not mistaken. And it could also be as well too. Well, for an ex-employee, I could see it being those 3 things. It's like maybe he thought he was worth more. Maybe Dr. Disrespect treated him like crap and shit. I don't fucking know. I don't fucking care. He'll have to. I think he'll have to go out of his way to sue the people that went after him for, well, to save his name, shall we say. I think it was Nihilist that had said that that'll be a Pyrrhic victory. Is that the right word?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Is it going to cost him? Yes, but is it something that he has to do? Yeah, he's going to have to. And if it does go to court, I hope that he sues him to the Stone Age. Will he make much out of it? Probably nothing at all. But does he have to destroy the life or the lives of the people that went after him out of anger, spite, jealousy, whatever? Sometimes you do. I mean, it's not ideal. It certainly is not ideal, but it has to be done, I feel, at the end of the day. So, but I mean, this is the what's the word I'm looking for here? This is the price you pay for having some degree of fame, or potentially, shall we say, infamy. And you will have to defend yourself against detractors. Now, the online bashing of people, it's going to happen, and it's to be expected. Again, as I said, human ego can be a very, not fickle, it can be a very temperamental thing to have to deal with. I mean, let's call it for what it is, folks. I mean, with what men have to worry about hearing from women, um, and a woman's primary method of getting back at a man is character assassination. they can't go after them physically. At least most can't. I mean, if you're built like Gina Carano and you're trained, and if it came down to it, could you go toe to toe, get into a fight with her? She'll kick my ass. I'll tell you that right now. And Naoki is taller than I am, but compared to her being an MMA fighter, his ass is probably going to get kicked too. I'm not downplaying myself. I'm not putting myself down. I'm just being realistic. I mean, she's probably close to my height, or close enough to it, but she's built bigger than I am, and she's learned how to fight. I don't know how to fight to save my life. I have taken karate lessons, but that was, that was over 30 years ago. I remember a little bit, but it's not going to be enough for me to be able to say that, to walk out with. It won't be enough for me to walk away. I'm pretty sure that I get knocked out pretty damn fast, and that's going to be it. And if I did fall flat on my ass, I'll tell you right now, I'm going to stay down and just pretend to play dead. So it's not that there's no shame here. I'm just being realistic. Anyway, but yeah, this will have to unfortunately be a case of lawfare now to fight back, and it's not anything that I'm envious of him, because I certainly am not. It's incredibly, like I said, incredibly unfortunate, but he's going to have to do it. And in a sense, this is really no different than anybody that's made any sort of accusation against Trump. He's pretty much brought everybody to court. Would be easier to pay it out, but he doesn't want to. When you have a track record, I guess, that Trump has with suing people that have said something wrong about you or made an accusation, and yeah, it'd be easier, it'd be quieter to settle out of court, but that's going to show weakness. Which goes back to what Roki had said earlier about someone like Trump has to go in there, he has to be ruthless, he has to have the ego. Because if you're taking on the deep state and with people like Diddy, where you're dealing with people that are more ruthless than you could ever imagine, you're going to need someone who's going to have the balls and the ego to take them on. And unfortunately for a lot of Canadians, I don't like him. I don't like the way he talks, blah, blah, blah. You know what? You're not going to have much of a fucking choice pretty soon, because it's going to come down to a guy you don't like, or these are the people that are doing really nasty things to humanity, especially kids. Take your fucking pick. And you can't, and those are your only options. And as far as I'm concerned, our former mutual friend, that was like, oh, I'm not going to make a decision. It's like, perfect, great, no problem. You're supporting the people that are absolutely evil and that would do these things to your kids if they would have had the chance, just because. Good on you. You're a fucking idiot. Anyway, that's all I got to say. I've got nothing more to say on this one, so I'll let you just wrap this up and you can go to bed.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So this concludes episode number 400. Again, like I said at the start of the show, when I looked at the cultural significance of 400 indicated strength, endurance, commitment, drive, a willingness to stick it out no matter what. To do, like I said, to do 400 of anything takes discipline. Even if you're doing it once, like even if you're doing a couple of hours a day, every day, you still have to do it for 400 freaking days straight.
And not get paid for it.
And not get paid for it. That's what 400, that's the cultural significance of 400. Because, I mean, am I going to make episode 1000?
You know, I mean, it only took 7 years to get to episode 400. Not actually, not even 7 years, 6 3/4. And, you know, the amount, and I said at the start of the show, and I'm going to make a vow to myself, and I'm going to make it public, just like I did way back when, back in 2016, when Miss 2016 did what she did. And my vow is that by episode number 800, I will be making a living doing just this. That is my dedication. That is my goal. Just like how I said back in 2016 when I decided to start doing this, that 5 years down the road, I would be talking about this and not Miss 2016. And that is exactly what happened. And why did that happen? Because I made a dedication to myself. I decided to persevere for 5 years despite hits that I've taken, and I got over them at the start of the show. So if I can make that kind of a dedication at episode 0, I can make an equally strong, impassioned dedication at episode 400. And by the way, to any snarky shits that might respond to this down the road and say, well, it's episode 500, you making money yet? This fucking thing happens on my time, not yours. Get that through your fucking head, right? Your snark just proves you don't have an argument. And I will end on this particular note. You sometimes benefit in very strange ways from very bad incidents that happened even 30 and 40 years earlier. You know, I got bullied a lot in high school. You know, that bullying, that taunting, those insults, which, by the way, are at the same level as some of the snarky assholes that I encounter on here. That stuff, that abuse, that intolerance, that bullying helps toughen me up to deal with some of the stuff that I'm dealing with before. So by all means, please take down my fucking YouTube for all the good it'll do you. It'll take me 2-3 weeks to get all the followers back. I'm here. And like I keep saying, and like what Jaffe keeps quoting me every time I go on his show, I'm going to be doing this until I die or find something better to do. This is Naroki 5. Like,